everyone. Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for the latest episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, Hall of Famer Steve Atwater joins the show. We'll take a look at the team's mindset this week and their next road trip to Chicago. All that and more coming up. Joining me on today's episode of Broncos Now is Hall of Fame safety, Mr. Steve Atwater. Steve, thanks for joining the show today.
Thank you, Sid. Appreciate you.
Of course. How you doing? How are things going?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I'd be a little bit better, man, if we can get a dub underneath our belts. But, hey, hopefully one is coming soon.
I hope so, too, Steve. Like you mentioned, it was a tough loss on Sunday. But, there's just been a lot of talk this week about focusing on the small details, specifically at practice. And, they need to improve in that regard. We heard it from head coach Sean Payton this week, Marvin Mims, Quinn Miners. Looking back at your time as a player, how important really was that at practice?
Oh, man, you play like you practice. And, our coaches really harped on doing the small things correctly. Mm-hmm. And they insisted that we are full speed in practice. And that way, especially when Mike Shanahan got here, we learned how to practice without having contact with our opponents, with our offensive guys. They're our teammates, right? We don't want to hit them, but we're going full speed right up until right before you make contact and we pull off. Mm-hmm. But we get into the habit of breaking down, watching your keys, making sure that your keys are correct. Right. And, as a defensive player especially, you have to have an idea what you're going to do based off of the keys that you read. You can't just go out on the football field and just react. Yeah. You have to have keys that you're reading before the play and have an idea in your mind of how long you're going to look at that key, where you're going to go to next. There's a whole kind of like 1, 2, 3 different steps that you have to go into for doing these different things. And it's different for probably every player, but you got to have some type of rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. Steve, I know, head coach Sean Payton, he also talked about the key this week being, or really for the rest of the season, is just putting these players in successful positions and, finding confidence that leads to winning. At this point in the season when, the on-field performance isn't where, they thought it would be, what is the key to kind of finding that confidence?
Yeah, well, first off, you got to be like cornerbacks. You got to have a memory that,
short memory.
You have a short memory. You got to forget about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to learn the lessons, though. You got to look at the film, like Coach said. You got to look at the film. Got to take what you can from it. And I know it's going to be difficult for some players to watch because, players naturally want to see good things when they turn on the film, but when they turn it on and they see themselves not playing the way that they envisioned or that they thought, then it's a little bit of a wake-up call, and that's needed sometimes, especially when you have a poor game. And I was in a situation like that once before, and it was a pretty bad feeling. So I know what the guys are feeling, but guess what? It's only one game, and fortunately in football, you always have an opportunity to redeem yourselves the next week.
I know a couple of players talked about how uncomfortable it was to go back and watch that film, but certainly necessary, like you mentioned. Steve, throughout your career, did you ever face any type of adversity like this, and how did you overcome those times?
Yeah. So my rookie year, we went to the Super Bowl. Oh. And when people asked me about it, I said, it was the blooper bowl because we lost 55-10. Huh. And mind you, this is the biggest game of the season.
Right.
And, the build up to the game, everything was hyped up, and, we thought we were going to just play so well. And then we were just disappointed. The other team, they outplayed us, and it wasn't our day. And I had a whole offseason to ponder on that, and I wish I could have played another game. Yeah. So these guys
get
are
that
lucky.
taste
they get
out
to
of
play
their mouth.
Again get that nasty taste out of their mouths.
Yeah.
But I had to sit with it a long time, and really had to do some self-reflection, and but I went back to work, started working harder, and just vowed to get better. And the only way you can really get rid of it is to play better. Right. Each individual. Now, everybody talks about team, but football also is an individual quest to be your greatest. And then you can bring that to the team and you put it all together, then you can have something special. But if you're not great as an individual, then it's hard to be great as a team. You got to have a bunch of great individuals too. All the things that these guys have been through, having offenses as a defensive player, having an offense drive down the field on you, and it feels like there's nothing you can do. Hey, I've been there. Right. You know, I think every player has experienced that at some point. I mean, you know, even the greatest players of all times have experienced it, but it's the mindset. That's the thing that helps you overcome it, because you know this is one game. They may be better than you on this one day. Mm-hmm. Guess what? I'm stronger, and I'm going to be better than you in the long run. And that's the mentality that I think players need to have to get through this and also improve and learn from it.
Yeah. Talk about the mindset. So what do you think the focus is going to be this week, as you know they have another road trip this weekend to face the Bears?
What's going to be the small things? Doing the things that you're going to be doing in the game, doing it correctly, going up as a defensive player and running full speed until you get to that offensive player, breaking down like you're going to make the tackle, and then bam, let them go by. But you're doing everything just like it's in a game, right up until the point to where, hey, you got to pull off. Right. And
they'll be ready for when it's game time.
And if you don't practice that way, you're not going to play that way.
Right.
You got to practice the way that you're going to play. And if you don't do that, it's going to be super hard on Sundays.
How do you hope to see this defense bounce back for Sunday?
Oh, man. Well, we had some plays that were not good, you know. And the first thing you have to know as a defensive player is where you need to be at. There were a few blown assignments, a few times guys looking at each other with their hands out like, oh, man, where are you going? Oh, I'm going this way.
Right.
And you know that there's confusion when that's the case. So they got to clean it up, make sure that they know every single adjustment. And teams are going to continue to run motion plays. And as a defensive player, I've been in the defensive huddle. I know whenever there's motion, somebody's confused.
Yeah.
Somebody on the defense is confused. Not everybody is 100% like, oh, I got this down pat. No, it's not like that. Motion causes confusion. And everyone has to take it upon themselves to know the adjustments when there is a motion in an offensive formation. And offenses, like I said, they know. They know, too. They know that it causes confusion.
Right.
And so we got to make sure.
That's why they do it.
Yeah, that's why they do it. They do that, and they also do it to see if you're in man or zone coverage. You know, they do it for a few different reasons, but we have to be ready for that, and we have to, you know, have studied it enough to where when it happens, we just reacted. It's not like we got to think about it. Like, I know exactly what I got to do. He comes in motion, I got to do this, or I got to do that. Right. You know, they have to have it down pat.
Well, Steve, you know, outside, looking at the offense now.
Okay, there we go.
Outside of, you know, some of the turnovers, I thought the offense moved the ball pretty well in the first half. And look at Marvin Mims Jr., you know, he was a big bright spot for this offense. So how do you hope to see them just continue to build off their performances?
Marvin Mims, oh, my goodness. You know, I kind of saw this from the beginning from watching him in training camp. And, you know, he's just an explosive player. He doesn't look like he's running as fast as he's running, but he is blazing fast. And it's a beautiful thing, because I think we needed to see some of those big plays. Obviously, it would have been better in a win, but we know that he's a weapon, and I'm sure he'll be looked on and relied upon here going forward.
Definitely. Well, last one for you, Steve. You know, looking at the Bears, what challenges do you think they're going to present for the Broncos this weekend?
Well, obviously, Justin Fields, it starts with him. Now, he hasn't been as successful passing the ball as he's been running the ball, but they do have some very good receivers who are capable of making big plays. Chase Claypool, DJ Moore, who came over from Carolina. Right. And so we have to practice as though we're playing against one of the best teams in the NFL. That way you don't have a slip-up when you're playing against a team that you're supposed to beat. And I think that the Broncos, even though we had a bad game last week, we're supposed to win this game next week, especially look at the productivity of the offense. Our offense, they've been moving the ball. We haven't scored as many points as we should have, but we have been effective at moving the ball. Offensive line has been doing a decent job. I think we're almost there, and we can get over that hump this week. And the defense, obviously, I think both defenses have been struggling. I think with this last game, we're giving up way more points than most teams in the NFL right now. But hey, we can redeem that. We can come back this week and cut that number down and make it more respectable. But I have confidence that these guys they aren't going to give up. They're not going to roll over. they're going to look themselves in the mirror and come back and play a better game this week.
Yeah. The Broncos will return to practice on Wednesday, so they'll look to turn the page ahead of Sunday's game. Steve, appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Sid. Appreciate it.
And Broncos fans, don't forget, Paramount Plus is your streaming home for every local NFL and CBS game this season. Visit ParamountPlus.com to start your free trial and stream Russell Wilson and the team as they battle the league's best. Plus, get an all-access pass to 24/7 NFL content with CBS Sports HQ, NFL Slime Time, Fantasy Football Today, and more. And this year, Paramount Plus is your streaming destination for Super Bowl 58. Another action-packed Broncos season with NFL and CBS awaits, so stream Paramount Plus from any device all season long. Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for another episode. See you all then.